Okay, so as you can see, we've got it all on. So what I've done, I've just put the doors on top of that blue tack, as you can see there underneath. Same thing at the top, obviously just blue tacked in, and for these gun doors on the side. So it's all there, basically ready for spraying. So what we do, we keep that off to one side. We'll grab our roll of Bounty to protect, quite a small one, so I'll do this on the table here instead of in the spray bay. Usual bit thing with this one, I've already been around it and given it a wipe over, making sure that we haven't got any sort of loose debris absolutely anywhere. So obviously what we're doing, we're looking for obviously gaps and big bumps and joins. But what we're going to do now is give it a primer coat. So if we just fire up the compressor, obviously we've painted this, the actual canopy areas here grey already, and that will obviously show through from the inside looking grey, so we don't have to worry about doing the black work on that. So we can go straight forward with the primer. So we're just going to pick any particular colour we like. So what I'm going to do, being slightly different, I'm going to use Valero and do it the same grey as what we did there, and that way if we do get any overspill anywhere at all on there, it won't make any difference. Okay, so we take our grey, good old shake as always. Okay, pop it in the colour cup, not too much, we do it in little stages. Okay, check our flow, happy with how that's coming out, and we'll start on the bottom, and we're just going to lightly dust this over the model. Very high air pressure, because literally we're just blasting this around, and we're going to go absolutely everywhere, just to make sure we're happy with all any seam lines that I might have had at the back here, which obviously we don't have a problem there, which is quite nice. And there we go. And the good thing about using this grey is, we were saying, if we do get any go over underneath the canopy, things like that, it doesn't make any difference because it's going to be that colour anyway. But there we go, we'll just work our way around everywhere. So let's back in. Just dry off so we can hold the wing section. Doesn't take long to dry off at all. And all we do, hold on to it nice and gently, and then we can go over the top. There we go, we've used one colour cup, or not a colour cup, but a bit in the bottom, so we're not going to need much more. So literally we just bring this over here. So, now we'll let that dry off just for a second. We'll clean out the airbrush, let that dry off, then we can have a good look round it and see exactly if there's any work that we need to do to it. Okay, so we're all ready now, we're all totally dry. What I've done is I've found a few little things I needed to tidy up, a few little marks on the leading edge where the wings obviously come together, two little gaps there, so I took care of those. Apart from that, we're all okay. Did a little bit of rescribing just at the back and touched those in, but apart from that, absolutely went together very, very well. So what we're going to do now is pre-shade. Now basically flat black over the grey. Now I know it seems like, you know, perhaps it won't show through, but trust me, it will come through, we'll be okay. Because of the colours we're going to be going over the top with greys and things like that, it should be okay, it'll show through quite nicely. So we've just got normal flat black here. So what we'll do is we'll get the airbrush all set up and we'll get this one pre-shaded. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll just 50-50 thinners split with the paint to thinners. So obviously thinners in first, drop of black, jolly good mix in there, just like that. Okay, just check our flow. A little pressure there, just turn that down. A bit further down. Okay, so if we start on the bottom, all we're going to do is follow all the big panel lines and little flap areas and ailerons and things like that. And you want to keep it as random as you can. You don't want perfect panel lines. You've probably heard me say this 100 times before. But if you can keep them a little bit random, and then obviously rivet lines, they're still going to have some dirt, so keep them quite faded. But just go around the entire model. Putting them in anywhere where you see a line or something like that. Then every now and again, just keep your flow clear, just blow it out the end, quite pump it all the way through and carry on. On something like this, obviously it's not going to take you very long at all. Okay, so we just sprayed the underside with the light colour, the pale grey blue. So we'll just do the sides as well. And obviously at this stage it doesn't matter too much where you go or what you do, because it's going to be pretty much a bit thick this. So you say it doesn't matter too much where you go or what you do, because you're going to be going over the top with the darker colours anyway. So we'll just work our way down the sides. And just around the front nose ring. Okay, we'll just let that off and then we can come back with our next colour. Okay, so we've successfully got the bottom, the light grey colour on there, so we're going to do the top. Now the trouble is, when you look at different call-outs for the RLM colours, it's very hard to get a precise match. Now to be honest, in the field obviously there is different versions and different shades as sort of the war went on. My preferred choice for doing them, I must admit, is the extra acrylics ones. So we've actually got here the RLM 74 and 75, which is the grey and the dark green, which is the top areas on the actual model itself. So we've got the greens and the greys. Now the trouble is, if you're using Valero, it will call you out to go for things like 72 and 74, but when you look at them, they're both basically a type of grey. When you're looking for the call out colours actually from the actual kit itself, if you're going to use the guns range, it's more of a browny colour than a green. So really it has to be what you're going to go with and what you're happy to do. So perhaps have a little blast around on a piece of styrene. A good little technique is to test them, is to use it actually on an old disc, compact disc, something like this, where you can actually spray onto it, because obviously it's like a styrene coat and it'll give you that type of finish. So that's quite a nice tip to do that. So what we're going to do, we're going to load up, check our airbrush, make sure we're all flowing okay, and then we're going to start. And obviously we'll start with the lighter colour and then ending in the darker colour. So what we're going to do, we're going to put the grey on for the top of the wings, top of the fuselage, things like that. And then also what we're going to do is just going to slightly run a mask when we come around this area, because we don't want to be putting any of the actual wing colour over the top, because I do believe they were sprayed as separates and obviously it bolted up, so you're not going to get any overspray around here unless it was touch-ups. Okay, so as you see, we've all masked up now, and basically what we're trying to do is get this panel in here, one, and obviously for the tail we're a bit concerned about painting that, so we've masked those up, totally safe, so we can get on with it. Okay, first one on is going to be the RLM 75, so in this case I'm actually using XA 1207 for that. So we just flick the compressor on over here. We'll just check our flow, which we're happy about. Now I've got my references just here, so all we're going to do is follow it round. So obviously we're doing tops over the wings for the moment, so literally this is quite a rough job. But we can spray this one in, just like so, doing that wing like that. And obviously we can do back here at the tail, which goes right up. And as I say, we can be a bit over the top with this particular one. As long as we're roughly in the area, we'll be okay. Just like that. And I don't know if you can see that, but the pre-shading's coming through on there quite nicely already. So then we've got this sort of shape that runs up, but as I say, just remember to go slightly over with this, because obviously then we can fill it in with the green. So as long as you're over, there's nothing worse that when you've got a gap and you've got to go around and touch it all in again. So we just go a little bit over the top with that on that side, and then what we'll do is we'll do down the other side, which is mainly all grey, I do believe, and this running up here is going to be grey, like that. So I'm going to just flip round here, and we do the other side. Nice little tip: reverse your instructions the same, and then that way it's a lot easier to follow. So as I say, it just comes off of this corner again and out to that outer gun. Trigger. Bit of a blockage, so we just pump the trigger till we all come through again. We're okay like that. So we can just it actually wraps out a little bit further than I thought. So we just go out like that. Got a bit of spittiness going on here. So you just pump the trigger and it will just flick it through. Okay, and we'll just do the leading edges, follow down. And as I say, with the leading edges, if you just flick a little bit, you can take care of those. So we just follow this bit in. Round to the front. Okay, then this outer one, it just comes in slightly like that, and then comes out. So there's a front edge just flicking. And there we go, that's the top half of the wing done. So what we'll do, we'll put this colour into a separate colour cup just for the minute, what I've got lying round. Then we can do the green, then we can put this grey back in, unmask and mask the wings. And that way, if we do it nicely in sections, we won't have to worry about this side, and then we can do the mottling and the bits and pieces like that. So I'll just change colour. Okay, so checking your airflow. Instructions the same way as you're going to go. What we're going to do is basically now just follow what we've got on here across. So in here we've got quite a loose mix. It's very, very thin. So we're probably talking, this is to acrylic's own thinners. It's probably more than a 50-50 mix. So what we do, we just check our flow. We're happy how it's coming out. Okay, so we've got to do this wing tip. So obviously we'll start with the greeny area and work our way to the outside. Like that. Now we don't want this to be too sharp a line. We want this to be softish without being over the top. And what we'll do, we'll go around when we finish and sharpen it all up afterwards. So we just follow this curve around here. Okay, and just flicking over the front so we get a nice line. Okay, then this one sort of curves round to the back as we know. So it actually comes in further than what we originally did. It comes in from the inside of this gun and curves round. So we're just going to do that loosely for the moment and just follow that in. So there we go, that's that wing done like that. We can do this tail at the same time. Pretty straightforward. Just like that, we can do the outside of this tail. Just like that for the moment. As I say, we're just doing it roughly and then we can sharpen this all up afterwards. Okay, now we've got this complex one running on the inside here. So it's going to be green down the side. Just like that. So that's all of that sprayed in. And then what it does, if I do this side on, you can follow me round. It's going to come up to that first panel roughly. And then back down. Just like that. So we just lightly go over everywhere like that. Okay, and this one here is quite a straightforward line. There we go. So there we got it basically done like that. Then what we can actually do is add a little bit more thinners. Just go down here to the side of me, to the mix, because we want it to be nice and thin. Give this a good old mix up. So we probably put in another 50% thinners now, so it's going to be very, very thin mix. Good old mix, completely all the way around. Make sure you get right to the bottom. If you've got a good quality brush, is a good idea, but make sure your brush isn't dropping bits. So I just got it over here on a waste bit, so we just pump this through. Okay, so we just tighten these up. So what we do, compressor on, air pressure down, nice and thin, so we get nice tight lines like this, and then we can get in there and just tidy up the lines that we've done. So we just start at the back. We can see. And what it'll do is just make them a little bit more prominent. And just sharpens them up and gives them a little bit more definition. So we just do this one back here. And another little thing you can do whilst you're doing those little lines of that, you can give them little lumps and bumps that really sort of bring them to life. But there we go, that's how we're looking now. Obviously those lines, the outer bits will dry off. It's just because they're still wet at the moment, but they'll dry off. But that gives us that. So then what we can do, we can move up now, unmask those areas, remask the wings up just a little bit, and then we can put the top green over the top areas and do a little bit of mottling. Okay, so now we can get on with the grey work. Compressor on, lower PSI, because we're not going to need much, and obviously we don't want to do any overrun. So what we're going to do, we'll just put this guy up. Now, quick ways you can do this. You can actually mask this with a bit of blue tack or white tack, or whichever way you want to do it. But what we're going to do is literally we're just going to follow along the top edge around the cockpit line and just follow it all the way back. So what we'll do, we'll start at the nose, and it's nice and lumpy. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go in very, very lightly to start with and put a line in just like that. If I move you in a little bit, you can try and follow me around, and I'll try and keep this in the screen. Okay, so we've got a line going in there. Then we're going to roughly follow this line back now. Obviously we've got the blue tack underneath here holding the cowl up, and we can manoeuvre that down a little bit to make it a bit better, and then running it all the way back and then up the tail. Then afterwards we can do the mottling. So what we'll do, we're going to do, we just follow this down. So we just want some bits going on, and obviously we can do the top area, following it down. Just like that, and then obviously we're going to come down the tail and up the tail and try and keep it in one nice fluid action, just like that. And then obviously we've got a bit of a line going down there, and that gives us our rough one that we can follow, because obviously some of it's going to be green on top, some of it's going to be grey, but with the pre-shading we can go around afterwards and do a little bit of post-shading with that. So what we do, we just tidy up this nose area. Every now and again just go full blow off the end of the needle, because sometimes you do get build up on the end of the needle when you're doing little bits like this. So another little thing, you can either have a cotton bud handy, or like here we just give the end of the needle a bit of a pinch and a wipe off with a bit of a towel. We can come in and we've got some nice flow going on, so that you can get in there. do some very nice tight work just like that. So we just do the same on the other side. Okay, so the front end, what we'll do the top of the nose all grey, and then we can come back afterwards and pick out the green. So there we go, we have it just like that, to give us our area. So we just tidy up this little down here, just like that. So we're quite happy, so we just put that down a minute, turn off the compressor, and we can show you what we're going to get up to next. Okay, so there we go, that's the top half done. Now obviously we've got green sections to go in, but as we've got the grey out, what we can actually do is going to come along and put in some mottling. Now, golden rules with mottling, really, you've got two things. We just bring you out a bit. Two things to remember. The thinner you paint, the easier it is to flow. But the thing is, obviously then, if you're too close, you can end up with spidering and spitting and bits and pieces like that. So what you want to do, thin your paint down, probably 50% more than you normally do, so you're down to almost like about 10% paint to 90% thinners. Turn your air pressure right down to about 10 psi, so it's easy to flow, so it can atomize the paint easily, and then you can go along. Now there's lots of different ways you can do this. I know people have done it with sponges, I know you can use it with templates. I have got here some photo etch templates for doing it, but it's not really designed for this type of scale. It's really on 132. The easiest way to really do it is just have fun and get in there and get on with it. So what you want to do is make sure your air pressure is nice and low and you're happy with how it all is. Okay, come along with your model, you're quite happy, and really in real life they just went along and lightly sprayed in all the little areas. So that's all we're going to do here, just the same. So we've gone along and we're just putting them in like that. What I'll do is I'll do the other side, we'll bring you in a bit tighter. Okay, so we're just looking at our references, but as I say, each one's going to be different. There is no right and wrong to this, and obviously I'm doing this backwards to front. So literally we're just going to come along, slightly pull back on trigger. As soon as the paint comes through, you can see it's coming in. And you can do it just like that to give you a sort of mottling type thing as they've got. And they're not just spots, they're actually lines and various bits and pieces. So once you've got the basics on there, you can go along and start to join them up, or however you want to do it. There's a little bit going on underneath as well. So there we go, we have it just like that running around our tail. It doesn't look too good on camera, it looks a lot better to the eye, but you're going to have to trust me on this. And that's the way you do it. You can just sort of go around it, and when we come along with a weathering wash and some weathering and a bit of post shading, it will all just blend it all in nicely. So on the other side here, you can see we've got it like that. And there we go, and that's dead easy on something little. Now if you was doing on a bigger model, as I say, there is photo etch templates you can do, just put them on and then blow through. But don't forget, you can go along afterwards with the blue and go in between them all to sort of neaten them up. But in a lot of ways they are pretty rough and a bit murky, and that's how they are. So I'm quite happy to leave it just like that for the minute. So we'll get this grey back in the colour cup, and then we can get on with the green. Okay, so now we're in with the green. Probably easier to do is tail down, so we turn this around the other way, just like that. I'll bring you in a little bit. Should be okay on pressure now. So then all we're going to do is literally, as we did before, we're just going to follow it across and over. So it goes from the nose, basically here, and then it's going to travel across. So if I bring it over this way a bit, okay, flow's good. So we're not going to go right the way over, obviously, we're just going to hang it back, but this green bar basically covers all of this back area. So where we did the grey, we're just going to follow now with the green. Okay, so what we're going to do, and we just spray in the areas. Now I have to be a bit careful here because this is a bit thin, this paint, and the air pressure is quite high, so we just have to lightly blow around. And what we can do, we can actually take the cockpit off and the cowls around the gun area and everything else and spray them as separates, but it will give us our rough shape. And as the air pressure bleeds off of the tank, it gives us a bit more room to manoeuvre. It's quite nice to use the last dregs of the air tank just to colour in, like this. And as I say, it's a testament to how thin your paint is, because obviously you can do this, and as you can probably hear, there's hardly any air to this now. So obviously when you get too less of air, it will start to spit, so we don't want to be doing it when we get to that, as it's doing now. But there we go, that's the green bit on the top, probably quite hard to see around the grey, but that's done and in now. So the last thing what we're going to do, we're going to load up with a little bit of weathering, we're going to uncover this, and we're going to go around and do some post shading before we do the decaling. Now normally I do it afterwards, but for this one I'm going to do it slightly different and do it now. Then we can get this decaled up, done, and then do a little bit more, obviously with washes and things like that. So for the minute we'll just get rid of this, what we got in the airbrush, let that dry, which won't take too long at all. Clean out the airbrush, and we're going to come back with a little bit of Tamiya smoke.